Athlete number 9 in our series leading up to the Rogue Invitational is the one and only Rob Kearney. Auntie Liz, over to you.
Rob's first competition this year was Forza Bruta back in February, where he placed 3rd overall. After that, in March, he competed at the Arnold Strongman Classic, and he was leading after day 1, but he ended up placing 5th overall. Then in May this year, Rob competed in his 4th World's Strongest Man competition, but the curse of worlds continues as he again didn't make it out of the group stages. And then most recently, Rob competed at the Strongman Classic at the Royal Albert Hall, where he placed 9th. Rob has competed in a total of 22 international competitions with 2 international competition wins.
So Rob's an interesting character. He's one of those strongmen that is very event dependent.
Yes.
He can go to one competition and absolutely smash it in Excel, and then another competition he can look quite average at the international level. And that's happened to him at a few shows. You see him, the Arnolds this year, especially day 1, he was unbelievable.
So good, yeah.
And he had a great performance in the Rogue Invitational last year, up against tough competition, ended up 6th. But he does go to some shows and you kind of think, why is this guy getting the invite? It's those big performances that he's had at Rogue, at the Arnold Classic, that get him the invites to this show.
So speaking of being event dependent, let's look at these events. And they're starting with the 18-inch deadlift for reps. It's £1,000 though.
£1,000 18-inch deadlift. And again, I think Rob will be looking forward to this one. He likes the static events. He really loved the squat. At the Arnolds this year, his deadlift is very solid. I believe his PB is around 440 kilos from a standard height. He's a shorter athlete, so you'd expect the elevation to help him a little bit. And it's an event, deadlift, he usually gets decent points in. I don't expect him to be challenging for top 3,
no,
but somewhere around
mid-pack.
Yeah, I think so.
Next is the Sear Dumbbell Medley, where they're going to be lifting 4 weights and then repping out the 4th if they even get to it. Rob is a solid dumbbell presser, isn't he? And I know he's had his tricep injury, which has really hindered his progress on his log, but he uses the other arm with the dumbbell, so he's unaffected.
Yeah, his tricep injury doesn't affect his dumbbell too much. He placed 6th overall on the dumbbell last year at the Rogue Invitational, only managing 2 of the dumbbells.
Okay.
However, at the Arnold Classic this year, he was 2nd overall on the dumbbell. And in most competitions you see, he does very well on dumbbell events. So I'm expecting him to want to get good points, potentially a top 3 on this one.
The next event then is the Husafel Sandbag Carry for Distance.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, I think, for Rob. Very hit and miss for him. I've kind of looked at Conan Circle results. I've looked at the Elephant Carry from World's Strongest Man, the Trial by Stones at the Arnolds. That's his best performance on a carrying type event. Obviously, a lot of different elements to that, but he was very solid on that event.
Yeah.
I think he could potentially do okay.
He's a good mover, isn't he, Rob?
Very good when it comes to like yokes and stuff like that. He needs a big performance on this one though. I think going into day 2, they're not going to be the absolute best events for him. And I think if he can get a good solid performance on the deadlift, really get some big points on the dumbbell, and if he can get a mid-table position on this one, he'll be happy with his day 1.
The next event is the Rogue Coaster, where they're going to be loading 3 sandbags into the coaster and pulling it arm over arm style up a hill. Now, Rob is cursed with chubby little hands, isn't he? He says it himself.
He says it himself, yeah. Unfortunately, I just cannot see Rob doing too well on this one. He's not the tallest athlete in the world, so the length of the pulls isn't going to be as long as some of the other more rangy athletes, if you like, and his grip is a big issue.
Yeah.
I think his grip is going to fatigue quickly. He's going to have to work so much harder on each pull. Unfortunately, I mean, you compare Rob to someone like Pavlo.
I know, yeah, the size and frame. And everything.
Just body shape is not ideal for this type of event for him. I think he's going to come somewhere near the bottom on this one.
Next is the yoke into log, and once upon a time this would have been the perfect combination of events for Rob. 2 of his very best events. We know he's an incredibly fast yoke runner, if you like, but the log has seriously been impeded by his tricep injury, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, Rob is a former American log lift record holder and without question one of the best at yoke in the world. If it was just a yoke race, I'd be putting him in the top 3 for sure on this event, potentially even maybe a win. That being said, he did this event last year and he was 8th. Now, before his injury, like you say, I think it would have been a guaranteed top 3 for him. I am expecting better than last year.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's had more time to focus on it this year, more time to have that tricep recover. The question is, how is the log going to be after doing the yoke? The yoke should not be an issue for him. He's still very quick on that type of event. It's how much he's got left going into the log. I think he'll do a lot better than he did last year. I still think potentially it could be a good event for him.
Yeah.
Last year, we've got to remember he was coming back from injury at that time, wasn't in his best shape. We've seen him do much better overhead performances in more recent competitions. So let's see. I can't see him winning it.
No.
But hopefully a mid to higher end table positioning for Rob on this one.
So finally, we have the Inverstones over the hitching posts. And again, Rob did this last year and he did okay, if I'm remembering correctly.
He did fantastically well. Placed 4th on this one. And that's, the only guys that beat him were JF Caron, Tom Stockman, and Martins Lissis.
Oh, JF Caron with the big performance there. Oh man, I miss JF.
JF's pretty good strongman, but Rob was 4th behind those 3. So very solid performance. He managed 4 of the stones. I'm sure this year he'd love to get that final 5th stone up. He's going to need to. He'll need big points on this one to climb himself up that leaderboard. For me, Rob has a couple of events in this where he can challenge. He's going to be one of those athletes that could potentially cause the big seeds some problems on certain events. I don't think he's got the combination of events to really challenge in this show, though.
No, I agree. Crunch time then, Lozzie. How do we think he's going to do overall? I have my thoughts.
Yeah, it's so tough because Rob is a great friend of mine and someone I absolutely love in the sport. But unfortunately, with this set of events, I can't see him doing as well as maybe we would like in some other shows. I think there's just a few events in there that are going to cause him big problems. For me, I think he's going to be somewhere down the bottom.
I think if he had his absolute best day and everything went perfectly to plan, he'd maybe come 5th. I think it would be more closer to the lower of the second half. God, how do I say it in a nice way?
Unfortunately, sometimes you can't. And Rob, like we say, we love Rob. He's a great athlete. We're talking about up against the best in the world.
Yeah, I know.
And unfortunately on this one, I can't see Rob challenging. It's getting close now. The Rogue Invitational is going to be an amazing event. We can't wait for it. Flying out to it very, very soon.
Yes.
We've got one more athlete to come in this series. And then, of course, our official predictions. Tune in for that. We'll catch you guys next time.